listen to my speech, and then in the speech, I'm going to say a random candy in there somewhere. And if you can catch what I said, you write it on the piece of paper, and then when you leave, you're going to turn it into one of the leaders, or you'll turn it into this prayer box that we had last year. And then next Friday, we'll announce a winner. Is that, everyone got that? All right, I'll get started. Today, I want to talk about probably one of the most famous disciples of the 12 disciples in the Bible. His name is Paul. Paul had a unique story that is different from most of the other disciples. So I'm going to tell you the story of Paul right now. Before he was a disciple, he was known as Saul. Saul was a Christian hater. In Acts 1, it says, and Saul approved of his execution. Earlier in Acts 7, a Christian man named Stephen was doing a speech about Israel history. But then later in Acts 3, it says, but Saul was ravaging the church and entering the house after house. He dragged off men and women and then committed them to prison. And then in Acts 9, Saul was threatening and murdering disciples of the Lord. Little did Saul know, in Acts 9, 4 through 9, his life would change. In Acts 9, 4 through 9, it says, and falling to the ground, he heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And he said to him, who are you, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus, the one whom you are persecuting. But rise and enter the city, and you will be told that you are to do. The men who were traveling with him stood speechless, hearing the voice but seeing no one. Saul rose from the ground, and although his eyes were open, he saw nothing. So they led him hand by the hand and brought him to Judamus. And in 3 days, without sight, and neither ate or drank, he was blind for 3 days, and then the Lord healed him. After that encounter, Saul tried to join the discipleship of Jerusalem, but they declined him because of his past of killing disciples. So in Acts 13:9, we heard for the first time that he changed his name to Paul. He changed his name to make a new identity for himself after he changed. After he was Paul, he was in dangerous mission trips and could have even got killed, but then ended up in jail. Just so people can learn about God. Even in jail, he wrote 13 books of the Bible and 87 chapters in the Bible. Later, he got beheaded in Rome. I really like the Saul to Paul story because it shows that it's never too late to change into a Christian. Paul, if you kind of think about it, was like a Sour Patch Kid. First he was sour, but then he was sweet. If you were listening to the speech, I hope you learned something. Also, I hope you learned that it's never too late to change into a Christian. You can change right now if you want to. And if you need any help changing into a Christian, you can ask one of our leaders. You can ask me. You can ask Miss Nala. You can ask Miss Dave. There's people around here that always help you. Now I'm going to give it to Lakin here to pray.